Happy Fire Alarm Friday, everyone. This is Bozai Guy, and welcome to System Test 1. Okay, whoa. System Test 1? What the heck are you talking about? Well, for about 2 weeks ago, I've been working on this project for about a month, but I announced it 2 weeks ago. I alluded to some sort of special project that I was working on. And right now it's Christmas Day, so I guess you can consider this your Christmas present. So I wanted to present to you guys what I have been working on over the past month. Now, I do need to address this very quickly because I was getting some questions about whether this was related to Magnum Opus. The name Chef-d'œuvre means a great masterpiece in French, but Magnum Opus also happens to mean the same thing, but in Latin. And I was getting some questions about whether this was what I was working on was related to Magnum Opus. And for those of you who don't know, that is the project that Zach from Fire Alarm Tech, Katie from Giraffes and Blinky Things, Robert from Aslan Fire Safety, and Johan from Miniman 404 are currently working on. It's also that project that I was referring to when I made that announcement 2 weeks ago on that Saturday, asking you to submit the videos. There was a little bit of confusion about whether or not that was related to this project that I'm working on right now, or I'm about to show you right now. And I'm here to tell you, this is in no way, shape, or form related to Magnum Opus. The only reason why I decided to choose a similar name was, well, when they happened to announce the project, I happened to be working on mine around the same time. And being friends and colleagues over on the Fire Alarm Discord server, because I'm a moderator there and so are they, I decided, I couldn't help to resist the name as, just for kicks and for fun and poke fun at the name. And the only reason why I made that Magnum Opus video was to help promote the project, because it's something that's really, really big, and it's probably going to be a lot better than what I'm going to show you. By the way, on the topic of Magnum Opus, if you guys have not submitted your videos, I suggest you guys do so now. You can find details in the little card I'm going to highlight right over here. See? It's a nice little card. Go view it. For those of you who haven't submitted your videos yet, the deadline has been announced. Or at least a soft deadline that they would like to have all the videos by. And that deadline is the 2nd of January 2021. So what that essentially means is that if your video is submitted beforehand, great. They're going to start processing those videos that have been sent before that date. Afterwards, it's probably still going to make it, but you should probably get it in as soon as possible, because that's when they're going to start putting that video wall together. Okay, so enough about Magnum Opus. It's time to show off what I have been working on. So, ready? Boom. This is the chef-d'œuvre that I was referring to, and I have finally finished working on it over the break. It took me a few days to construct it, but it took a whole day to work on it. So, yeah. So, here it is. It's a demonstration board consisting nothing but a security panel and fire alarms. Now you're probably like,
Whoa. What are you talking about? Why is there a security panel right over here?
Well, time for a little bit of an explanation. So for a long time, the majority of the fire alarm community has only demonstrated systems consisting of only commercial fire alarm systems. Or commercial fire alarm panels, I should say. Now, I want to say that I'm not the first person to come up with this idea of using a security system for a fire alarm system, or full-fledged fire alarm system. There are definitely a few people that do it, but for the most part, the majority of the community has been focused on commercial fire alarm systems as part of their demonstrations. And unfortunately, I find that sometimes this can lead to the conclusion that, hey, I can have a commercial fire alarm system in my house. And regardless who exactly has been thinking these things, my uncle, a licensed electrician, says that this is actually not a good idea. And you'll probably hear a lot of people say, that having a commercial fire alarm system in your home installed, a full-fledged system, not like a demo board system, like a whole system that's supposed to be protecting your house, is not a good idea. And here is why. So according to NFPA 72 version 2019, which is the version that we'll be using, we can summarize our requirements for a commercial fire alarm system in 4 different points. The first of which is all commercial fire alarm panels must be installed by a local state licensed professional, or at least your installation has to be overseen by a local state fire professional who is qualified to either oversee or actually install the actual system. The second point is all commercial fire alarm panels must have a maintenance contract by the local state license company so that it can be regularly tested. Again, this generally varies, but the convention in many buildings is that a third party is going to be maintaining your fire alarm system, unless if you have some qualified professional or some qualified personnel inside the building that will be able to test the system for you. And that generally is a rare circumstance. All commercial fire alarm panels must have a contract with the local state approved monitoring company so that it can dispatch the fire brigade. So what that means is that your systems have to be monitored, and that is always done, for at least in a commercial setting, needs to be done under contract. On top of that, the AHJ usually has to be notified that your system is being monitored by some sort of third party, such as a monitoring company, so that way they know that, hey, your system is compliant and can be used to dispatch the fire brigade whenever needed. The fourth point is that all commercial fire alarm panels must have 2 dedicated methods for ringing the fire brigade. For example, you can have a phone line and a cellular connection, and just in case one happens to fail, there's a backup option. So essentially there needs to be 2 ways to call out the fire brigade in case there is a fire inside the building. Now, actual details about how these systems have to be managed and maintained and all that stuff all vary behind different jurisdictions. But in general, that is the convention that a lot of buildings have to follow in order to become a commercial fire alarm system. Now, as I mentioned before, there are few people out there that get the impression that a commercial fire alarm system can say, replace a residential home smoke alarm system like I have in my house. Now, I don't know why someone would want to do that, but unfortunately I have to say, no, that is not how it goes. Now you might be saying, wait, hold on. That doesn't make sense. If a commercial building has higher standards than residential buildings, what exactly could go wrong? Well, you're right about that, but it's not that simple. See, when we install a commercial fire alarm system, we have to treat it as a commercial fire alarm system. That means installing and maintaining it as a commercial fire alarm system per NFPA 72. You could say that it could protect your home, but in a legal sense, no, it does not. Your home smoke alarms, which are designed specifically for homes and not commercial buildings, which is why you'll not find these anywhere in a commercial building, legally provide more means of protection than does a commercial fire alarm. Okay, so now you're like, okay, get it, fine. We can't have a commercial fire alarm system in our house. Can I at least still have some fire alarm system in my house without all those requirements so that, I can still have a method of fire protection? Well, yes, my friend. Oh, I should be pointing. Well, yes, my friend, we can. But let's present you a little bit of context. I present to you from NFPA 72, Chapter 29, Single and Multiple Station Alarms and Household Signaling Systems. There's a part where it says specifically in Chapter 29, paragraph 11.2.1, Part 2, in no case shall more than 18 initiating devices be interconnected where the interconnecting means is not supervised. This is referring to the smoke and heat detectors in your house that trigger the alarm. Supervision is the idea that the smoke detectors are monitored at all times, whether it be for some sort of trouble or alarm condition. Non-supervised interconnected smoke alarms are the most common in homes, and you most likely have something like this in your home already. But as the code mentioned before, there is a limit, most likely because, well, if you have a really big house, you'll want to have some higher level of protection other than just having a smoke alarm in your house. Let's take my house for example. My house, following the NFPA 72 Chapter 29 paragraph 8.1 standard, would require 13 smoke detectors. However, we might want to consider additional protection for areas like the kitchen and open living spaces, so that might require 3 more smoke detectors in my house. At this point, we are starting to reach the limit for the number of detectors that we can install. Now, suppose that a house requires 20 smoke alarms for protection. That, granted, is a very large house, but we've exceeded the limit such that the smoke alarms now need to be supervised. But they don't really make any products unless you're talking about considering supervision such as the Nest Protect or something like that, because, well, rarely do we have a home that requires 20 smoke detectors. So how exactly do we get around this limit? Well, introducing the not-so-new concept, the residential fire alarm system. Now you're probably saying, bro, this is a security system. How could this actually be a fire alarm system for your house? Well, if you look at this wonderful label here,
this unit provides residential fire alarm service when installed according to NFPA 72.
It can be made for a residential fire alarm system. Very cool. We can also apply this to the security panel. where we look up at the label here, where it is listed as a household fire and burglary warning system control unit. As well as on the inside, if we open it up, we can see that this unit provides residential fire alarm service when installed according to ANSI/NFPA 72, version 1993. Of course, we're using the 2019 version, but it's still the same principle. Okay, it's made for a residential fire alarm system, I get it. What about the rest of the requirements that we stated in NFPA 72? Well, systems like these generally need to be installed by a professional, and that's typical for one of these security panels, but the requirements are a lot less strict, because the main idea is to protect your life from fire and not necessarily your property. That's why NFPA includes this part in Chapter 29, paragraph 1.3. The requirements of Chapters 7, 10, 12, 14, 17, 18, 21, 23, 24, 26, and 27 shall not apply unless otherwise noted. In summary, those are the 4 requirements that we covered before. Now you're asking, bro, come on, Chapter 29 is titled Household Signaling Systems. Why can't a commercial fire alarm system at home be considered a household signaling system? NFPA 72 also includes this in Chapter 29, paragraph 3.1. All devices, combinations of devices, and equipment to be installed in conformity with this chapter, that is Chapter 29, shall be approved or listed for the purposes for which they are intended. That means commercial fire alarm systems cannot qualify to follow NFPA 72, Chapter 29. You have to treat your home as a commercial building, which in the long run can start getting a little bit expensive. For a security system like this, you still need to get it installed by a professional, but once it's done, all you have to do is get the monitoring service, and that's it. No other obligations other than to maintain it yourself, which is, for a system like this, is relatively easy. So in summary, I chose to have a home fire alarm panel as part of my demonstration systems because I wanted to show you that you can get a residential fire alarm system without having a commercial fire alarm panel and having all those commercial fire alarm requirements. I do want to put a disclaimer that this is in no way supposed to actually emulate a full fire alarm system for a home. The requirements would look a lot different. I did twist the rules a little bit, and you'll see it. For those of you who are familiar with these panels and how restrictive they are, you can see that this is definitely not going to be a system that you will probably find in your home, especially with the fact that we have mismatching detectors and questionable devices that you might not want to use or could be used in a home, but it's not usually common. Plus that pulse station is definitely not going to be there anyway, so cool. Anyways, that being said, let's actually get into the nuts and bolts of this entire fire alarm system, all right? I have to give credit to the SDX because some of the design choices that I made with this was inspired by him. In particular, the decision to make it a rather small and compact system. You'll see here that this is, well, kind of small. It's not that portable, which I was really hoping that it could be, but I mean, it's inevitable because you have all these devices, you have, well, something on the back that is really, really heavy, especially because if you hear the buzzing, it does have a transformer in it, so it's really, and that makes up the majority of the weight of that particular panel at least. But with that being said, you do have this right over here. It's nice and small. And my intention was, I wanted this to be small because, well, if I have it really big, then it's going to take up a lot of space. And because this basement that I'm in right now does tend to be a place where a lot of guests like to hang out, I was just like, well, what if I wanted to, say, hide it in the corner, such as this corner right over here where there's a little bit more space. I just have it here because there's a power outlet nearby. I might test it over there next time. Just in general, if I ever wanted to hide it, it's easy to move and it's somewhat easy to store. So yeah, that's really, really cool. So in particular, the choice I made, I used a 3/4 inch birch plywood to mount all the devices on. And that is mounted, this plywood is mounted onto a 2x4 frame. And this 2x4 frame is, well, just 3 2x4 pieces. And I have that mounted onto feet of 2x4, supported a little bit by screws underneath. We have this T bracket, and then we have this L bracket as well. So that's basically how the system is sort of set up. That way, I wanted this to be a little bit small because, well, if I wanted to move this somewhere, then it's a lot easier than having a sort of whiteboard-sized, demonstration board that a lot of other people like to have. but something small and compact for me does work, and I think it'll give me a lot of years of, I guess, enjoyment. I mean, I don't want to sound like one of those people, but you know, it's something fun to mess around with once in a while. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is this Caddx Ranger 8600E. It's the panel that we are going to be using for today, or for this demonstration system, not today. And yeah, with that being said, this was actually manufactured by Caddx. And for those of you who don't know, Caddx is a very, very old company, and it's actually been bought out by Interlogics, and well, it was bought out by GE first, and then GE was, I think GE made Interlogics as, I think, a subsidiary. I don't remember what the word is, but I'm not a business major. Johan is, but yeah, basically Interlogics is now, or Caddx is now Interlogics. And Caddx was actually for a long time manufactured the NX series of panels right over here. And yeah, with this part. Now the reason why I stuck with this particular panel was because this system is a little bit special to me, or the 8600E is a little bit special because this was the old system that used to be in my old house, or is, I don't know if it's in my old house anymore. It's probably gotten replaced at this point. But this was the old system that used to be in my house, and I somehow managed to set it off without knowing what the code was. I punched in some random numbers, it armed the system, and then I set off the alarm. So that's a bit of a funny story I can tell a little bit later, but that's the gist of why, you know, this panel is a little bit special. In terms of the keypad, it did not have this particular keypad, but it did have a keypad that looked similar to the NX8. Because Caddx used the NX8 or made the NX8 for quite some time, I guess they reused the design, and you know, Interlogics has also used the design for their Concord series. You have this oval-shaped keypad. The panic buttons looked exactly just like this, except the medical button was replaced with an A for auxiliary. These three buttons were located at the bottom. There were no quick arm features, and the LED panel or LED screen was vertical, kind of like this. So it was the Caddx 8906 keypad, and I'll show a photo of it, what it looked like. But you can see some of the similarities of this panel and the keypad that 8906 keypad that Caddx made for a while. Talking about keypads, we have this Caddx A601 keypad that it came with the panel. This is your regular panel, and I know it looks like it's flashy, but it's not. It's just the camera that's doing that. So yeah, it displays 6 zones because the Ranger 8600E is a 6-zone panel. You can see that it's ready and the power is currently on. I do want to mention though that you'll notice, if you noticed a little bit before, there are no batteries for the system. And that's because I disabled the battery trouble through programming. I am not using the battery hack that a lot of people like to use, just because I do want to try to avoid it because this is a really good panel to me, or this is a really good panel and I don't want to damage it, so I'm not going to use the battery trouble hack. But I will disable the battery trouble because, well, we're simulating a normal system, so yeah, that's cool. We have 6 zones. All 6 zones are programmed to be fire zones, so that means there is nothing to be protecting in terms of security. In fact, when I enter in the code, it doesn't arm because, well, there are no zones to protect. I also have the keypad panic, the auxiliary panic, and the bell test disabled, just because, well, they're not going to be working correctly with a system like this, and you'll see why in a little bit. So that's enough about the keypad. In terms of the initiating and notification appliances, we have this Firelight BG10, not a BG10, a BG12L right over here. So this is where our pool is going to be located, and I have space for 2 smoke detectors. So the first one here is your system sensor 4-wire i3, the NAPCO Firewolf FW2, and then moving on to our notification appliances, we have our Wheelock CH90, just the chime only, and we also have the Wheelock RSS set to 75 candela, I think. Yeah, that is 75 candela. Cool. Just for reference, this is going to be zone 1, this is zone 2, and this is zone 6 because zone 6 is the only zone that accepts 2-wire connections. Okay, with that being said, well, you're probably wondering, if you're really familiar with these security systems, You'll probably know that this entire system is designed to be running off of 12 volts DC. You also probably know that fire alarm devices like these are generally not compatible with a Ranger 8600E. Besides the fact that these detectors are not, none of these appliances are compatible with the actual panel per the listing of this system, you'll probably realize, well, that kind of doesn't make sense. Why are you using 24 volt appliances if you're technically not allowed to use them, and two, they're rated for 24 volts. This is where a second panel comes into play, and that it does actually play a very important role in powering these devices. If we look at the back, we have this Notifier FCP-S24 fire alarm power supply. So what this is it basically is a power supply for our 24 volt panels.
So this took way too long to explain, so here's the short version of the talk. You are not likely going to find this in an actual home without an approval of an AHJ. Again, this NAC extender is typically used for a more commercial fire alarm system. However, according to the specs listing, this power supply can be used on any 12 volt and 24 volt panel, and that can include our residential fire alarm system depending on the way you want to interpret that spec sheet. In turn, the devices that are compatible with this NAC extender, those being any 24 volt notification appliances that are required for your system, can be used with your home fire alarm system. Again, I have to reiterate that such a design is not typical for a household fire alarm system, but with approval of an AHJ and the system being installed by a professional, something like this can most certainly be pulled off.
Now, when I was ordering this panel off of eBay, I was expecting this panel to be a slightly newer revision where it would have wheel lock, the option to do wheel lock sync, and all the other fun sync stuff, and do manual temporal. Unfortunately, if you take a look at this panel, you'll see that this panel was quality inspected back in August of 1999. Back in the day, wheel lock sync I don't think was caught on quite yet, so this panel only mimics whatever is being inputted. So for example, input 1, it has two inputs. The first input is input 1, and it's being wired from the onboard NAC on the other panel. The onboard NAC, when this turns on, then these two outputs turn on, and whenever it turns off, the two NACs turn off. And then over here, I have wired to input 2 and auxiliary output, which outputs a continuous power when there is any fire condition. And when that turns on, then these two turn on. Once the input turns off, then these two turn off. So what I have here is I have two NACs that are being wired out. The first NAC is going to be pulsing at code 3, and the second NAC is going to be pulsing or not really pulsing, it's just going to be on continuous. So therefore I have just this wired to the chime and this one wired up to the strobe, because strobes should not be coded. So I decided to choose this alarm because, well, it's Christmas time and we like to hear the bells, and it's the bells that we hold near and dear to our hearts. These nice fire alarm thingies, I guess you could say. Oh well. Let's go ahead and just pull the BG12L first. So let's do this. I forgot to mention that this system is pretty fast at responding to alarms. It's actually pretty instant, actually. That strobe is really bright at 75 candela. Probably need to set it to a lower setting next time so I don't get blinded. This alarm panel actually has the ability to re-alarm as well, so we'll reset the switch and set it off again. You see, zone 1 is still in alarm right now, so let's go ahead and set it off again. Oh. Well, that's a little strange. I didn't know it reset everything when you re-alarm it multiple times, so I'll set an alarm. It's kind of interesting. To silence the alarm, we just entered our keypad thing. There's no audible silence because this is a rather basic panel. But audible silence, you don't really need it because you're probably not going to use a strobe inside a home unless if you're unless the home is being built for someone who is hard of hearing. So cool. To reset the system, all we have to do is push the pound button. So, and we should see the indicator light go out in a few minutes. There we go. Shaky. Now let's go ahead and test the system sensor i3. So we'll just do the functional test because I don't have my can of Smoke Saber right now. So let's do a test. Oh, it looks like it's still initializing, but it'll be fine. So there you have it. It's really cool. And then let's finally go ahead and test the Firewolf 2. So this just requires a magnet to test it, and it should go off in a minute. See, that is on zone 6, zone 2 is the i3. Nice. And just for fun, pull it again. Alright, we can see that is it. Go ahead and reset the pull station again. Yeah, wrong side. Got this as well. So let's go ahead and reset the entire system. When I push the pound key, it'll power cycle the detectors. So let's see, there we go. And you'll see the indicator lights turn off. The system will reset in just a moment. There we go. And why not, just for fun, do the manual keypad activation. It just requires pushing 1 and 3 at the same time. So very easy. None of the zone lights are on. The strobe is really, really bright. It's blinding my eyes whenever I stare at it. Not really stare at it, but you know, if I look into it. And there's not really anything to reset, it just stops the alarm. You can push the code again, but that would arm the system. If we wanted to reset it again, we'll just put the pound. And that will power cycle through all of the detectors and all that fun stuff. So, yeah. Well, that shall conclude our very first system test. I know the technical jargon was relatively long and the test itself was actually short, but these are probably what the videos are probably going to be looking like. Relatively short because I don't have a lot of devices to show off, unlike many other collectors still. But I think this is something that I'm really proud of doing, and I think you guys will be able to enjoy it a lot. So go ahead and stay tuned. I might post these about every month or so, depending on what my work schedule looks like. But other than that, it's a really nice system that I'm really happy to own now. Alright everyone, well I put the system up away for today. I want to thank you all for watching and all the support that's led up to this right over here. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching. And again, I'm sorry that this is a very long video. I promise it won't be long next time, but yeah. So I will see you all later and wish you guys all a Merry Christmas. If you guys don't happen to celebrate Christmas, then a happy holidays and a happy new year for 2021. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. In the meantime, I will see you all later. Bye-bye now.